Welcome back, and this is my game discovery of Dungreed, a Rogue Legacy-styled side-scrolling platformer from publisher-developer Hooray. I give this game a 7 out of 10 if you're into numbers. So here's the premise. You are a hero who locates the inhabitants of a recently destroyed village while exploring procedurally generated dungeons. Once you return the villagers, you can pay them to rebuild the town and offer resources to you like training. There's a lot of video game logic going on in this premise that I should probably just totally avoid discussing. It was very easy for me to get immersed in the game and lose some time, and I enjoyed the general medieval atmosphere, throwback pixel graphics, variety of mobs and weapons, and pacing of the game. There were a few things that broke the immersion. The music in the village and friendly NPC scenes is quaint and pastoral, but the dungeon music is a dose of aggressive, guitar-laden heavy metal. Both get repetitive, but I'm assuming this is a beta thing. I couldn't decide if the heavy metal music was nostalgic or a cringy distraction. A second irritation for me was the inclusion of modern weapons in the arsenal of loot chests and NPC stores. The game includes shotguns, assault rifles, and a variety of other modern offensive gear. I don't like the duality I keep finding between other game elements and the setting. Hooray should just go with one or the other. A staff, wand, blunderbuss, or spellbook could unleash just as much carnage as a modern gun. Dungreed has controller support, but I often felt like my thumbs and fingers were tripping over each other. The right analog stick controls the directions of the attack, but the jump button is under the right thumb. For longer jumps that require the button to be held, it made changing attack directions a mess. I'm hoping this gets swept out of the beta. The mouse keyboard controls felt natural, even for one like myself who rarely plays side-scrollers. There was a good helping of mobs. The AI was a little on the easy side, but due to the lack of health available, it kind of felt balanced. I did see some repetition in room designs, and I hope that this is also just a part of beta. The dungeons have secret passages that allow for quick travel back and forth to different spots, which was convenient, especially if we had to eat. The only place to satiate yourself in these dungeons seems to be a restaurant run by a former villager in the dungeon, and I'll just pass right by that logic as well. I didn't run into any potions or anything yet, but I'm sure that's probably an aspect of the game. The goal is full completion of all rooms on a level prior to proceeding to the next level of the dungeon. When you leave a dungeon, due to meeting the wrong end of a pointy object, or success, you leave all your loot behind, but you keep most of your gold. If you go out as a corpse though, then you sacrifice a chunk of that change. With the money, you become the benefactor of the village, and in turn, they sell you gear and training. This allows you to grind to buy skills in case you're having trouble finishing a dungeon, which, of course, I needed. Dungreed is a nice casual game. It's easy to jump in and out of, if you're not using the controller, that is. But I have one more thing to talk about: localization. As a native English speaker, I can't help but notice the egregious errors in basic sentences and translation. It's not the worst that I've ever seen, but this element needs a few hours of elbow grease to buff out. Lastly, and this is probably a sensitive observation, maybe we should sit down, the name, Dungreed. Let me preface with just a general admission that perhaps I'm looking at it the wrong way. It seems like they were going for a combination of dungeon and greed. I don't know how greed plays into the premise of the game. We are not a greedy hero. In fact, we are risking our life and paying for an entire village to be rebuilt. There's no story element that I saw about the enemy being some especially greedy demon or anything. If so, it wouldn't have destroyed the village. It would have taken it over and taxed it by gold or sacrifice. Dungeon makes total sense because you go into dungeons. But if I say the title with the same G sound as in dungeon, like J, the name feels odd. Dungreed. If I say it like the G sound in dung, then it sounds like dung. And dung is poop. There are a few other combination of words that and sounds that I can think of, but I think you see my point. The name doesn't really work in English. I hope you done agreed with me on that one, and maybe we'll see a change there too. Either way, like I said, I give the game a 7 out of 10. I think you should go ahead and try and play the demo and see what you think. As always, guys, comment if you like if you do, and I'll catch you in the next video.